Hi, RFM 315. I wanted to take a minute and step in and talk to you all for a little bit about this final project. I had one person reach out to me. I have my notes here just to ask for a little clarity. So I thought that I would take the time to not only provide it to this student, but to all of you. So as you will have accumulated from all the knowledge that you've learned in these past 7 weeks and in this week too, in chapters 13 and 14, a lot of financial management is both quantitative and qualitative. So you are going to be asked to do a little bit of both in this final project, and you are going to be asked to be the financial experts and strategists for our restaurant 409 at Adams. Now, like any project that you have with me, I'm expecting some critical thinking from you. So in all of the information that I sent you so far, and we'll go over it here, there's a couple questions that aren't here that I'm expecting you to ask. And I'm going to give you some hints to those questions in this brief video that we do. So you have two main objectives. One, I want you to forecast a financial statement, which is something that you have read about in this course, and you all are very familiar with the income statement. So you are going to create a forecasted income statement. To help you do that, I have given you a lot of information. I've given you the sales report up into and including 4/25 of 2019. You'll see the net sales there at the top are $12,110.36. Okay, you'll see that there. You'll also see the service charges, which you can kind of ignore. That's a standard 20% that goes to the scholarship fund, as you're all aware. But there's a question that if I was a financial manager, I would need to ask, and so I'd be expecting you to ask this. Now, I've told you that I want you, on the final project overview, I want you to forecast an income statement, and I want you to assume that the restaurant will be open 3 times a week for 8 weeks in the fall semester and 3 times a week for 9 weeks in the spring semester. So when you do your year's forecast of income statements, you will know how many days you'll be open. What you know on this is what your total sales are. The questions that you need to ask are probably, what is the breakdown of food and alcohol on this, right? And then there's also something else you don't know. You don't know how many days of service this represents, do you? Because you need daily average sales. So I will give you one piece of the information. The rest you can ask the right questions yourself. I told you that Chef Markovich is a good source of information. Many of you are in the class, so you can get it and share it. Or you can ask me if you have trouble getting in touch with Chef Markovich, and I will be happy to help you get the information that you need to complete it. But this little revenue sheet represents 6 days of service. Okay, so you'll also the second part of your project. Actually, let me finish up this and then I'll get into that second part. So you're going to see there in your objectives, number 1, it says the following items have to be on your income statement. You need to do your food cost. Okay, so you have your total sales. You have on the other sheet that I sent you what the food cost is. This one is RFM 315, final project info, menu performance, okay? So you see your food cost percent there. So you can take the menu mix, right? You see how much the average food cost is, how many they were sold. You can give me the average food cost because you have this data. It doesn't matter if we say that, let's look at Cuisines of the World, the salmon was running 28%. Well, we only sold 4. So that means that our average food cost is going to be higher, because if we look down, we see lamb sold more than double that at 11, and that's at a 42%. So I really want you to remember and work on menu mix so you can arrive at an overall food cost on this, okay? So going back to that, you're going to need to do the forecasted income, okay? So you can do that. You can see the net sales here. We've been open 6 days so far, so you can divide that and get what our average daily sales have been. multiply that by the number of times that I said we're going to expect to be open a year. So that number should be pretty consistent. You are allowed to say that you think that we're going to have a little bit of an increase, and why. You can say, I think that based on the fact that I am suggesting that we have better service training, that we raise our prices, that we do better suggestive selling, whatever your recommendations are in another part of this project, you can say, I'm expecting an increase of sales by 10%, and here's why, as long as you tell me why you've done that. You can also say, I'm expecting a decrease in sales of 10%, and here's why. Maybe you have read some reports that you will cite into your project that say that we are heading towards a recession. And we all know that during times of recession, restaurants and hotels feel it first. That's your job. This is your job to forecast. And when we make a forecast, we let the numbers talk to us, the quantitative, and we also let some qualitative stuff speak to us. And no one's report should be identical, because you're all going to bring different brain activity to this project. So you tell me, this is my forecast for the 2019-2020 year, and here is why, based on quantitative and qualitative information. So food cost, beverage cost, labor, I gave you labor information so far. We don't have a ton of labor, so this shouldn't be industry norm, right? We have students that act as the employees, and so we have a bar supervisor, we have a kitchen sous chef, and we also have a dishwasher. So extrapolate that out and see how much you think we will spend on labor based on our percentage so far, right? I gave you the figure and you see total sales, so you can say, labor is running XYZ percent. And then just estimate that it will increase, right? Because we'll give those people more hours as we're open more. But the percentage should probably stay consistent, unless you tell me that you think we're going to have to hire more. And you're welcome to do that. Gross profit margin, you all should know how to do that. So that should be on your income statement. And then net income. For expenses, I gave you some information about how to put in for rent or lease. You can put in anywhere from 3 to 8%. That's up to you. That's industry norm and benchmark. And you can just assume that that is what we, the School of Hospitality, will pay the college for the use of that facility, because they have a mortgage on our building, okay? I also gave you some linen and operating expenses information, so you can put that in there. That one is the income statement part of your project. When you move to the menu analysis and the BCB matrix, that's where this menu performance data comes in. What I want you to do, and you guys have a great resource in that your fellow that has been at every single one of these events and knows how this menu is performing is also in this class. So if I were a student, I'd be reaching out to him for qualitative information as I plug these menu items into the BCB matrix. And I gave you that link to remind you, let me shut this down, about the BCB matrix. Remember that it breaks it into quadrants, right? You have things like the puzzle. They're running a good food cost. They should be popular, but they just don't seem to sell. You have things like dogs, right? And dogs are things that don't perform well. They're not profitable. They don't sell for you. And then you're going to either suggest to me how you can move those to a better quadrant, or maybe you're going to suggest we get rid of those. So you're going to do it 3 times for the 3 menus that I've given you. I'll tell you, I was at the Small Plates event, and they were all out of this world. But one item that happened to be a puzzle and a dog for me, I don't know where I would put it yet, I'd really have to think about that, was the pork tenderloin and grits. Probably a puzzler. It runs a pretty good food cost. It was out of this world delicious, but only 7 people bought it. All 7 people loved it, but I heard 2 pieces of feedback that I think are interesting from 2 different people who didn't speak to each other. They both were turned off by grits, even though they were delicious. So that's something to think about. Do we need to do tastings? Do we need to change the way we suggest it on the menu, or wording, things like that? So do that. So reach out to your fellow. Ask questions. Hey, how is this worded on the menu? Can I get a copy of the menu? Do you do tastings for the servers before? Why do you think this is underselling? What kind of feedback did you get? This is where I want you as a class to come in and do and get some more information beyond what I provided for you here. So that's number 3, that you're going to suggest alternate entrees or wait for problematic entrees to perform better. Number 4 says I want you to look at the check average per menu. Analyze food and bar sales historically and conclude this paper by suggesting strategies to maintain and improve restaurant financials. If you go back and you look at this, you'll see that on mine I highlighted that we've had 402 guests we've served. Our average guest has spent $30. I think we could do better on that. Look at the menus. That kind of tells me that they're getting one course or no drink, or maybe we're not doing a great job of selling dessert. Our check average is 56. Our average table, because sometimes there's 2 checks per table, is $87. And our turn time, this is kind of key too that you guys know, is 104 minutes. What does that tell you? We're definitely not turning these tables, that's for sure. So I want you to really dive into this and look for information that you need in order to submit this. You don't have a lot of other work to do, so this is the bulk of your work. Started last week, dig in this week, and then it'll be due next week when the semester ends. Any questions, reach out to me and reach out to the fellow, because he's going to be a really good source of information. Good luck, you guys, and I'll see you in the classroom.